This program contains dramatizations. Scenes are derived from original Dutch and English records.
Set the mainsail!
The dawn of the 17th century.
This could well be the long sought-after passage to the Orient.
A race is on to find a northern trade route to Asia.
Full more stop, sir! Ice!
These were not cold weather sailors.
What do you expect when you sign up for an Arctic expedition?
They're facing the most difficult psychological circumstances one could encounter.
Explorer Henry Hudson's obsessive quest
How dare you speak like this?
leads to an unexpected discovery.
They had literally no idea where they were.
That will change the course of history. The conquest of the Northeast.
Let me reason with the master. For your own sake, do not do this evil thing in front of God and man.
I would rather be hanged at home than starved abroad.
We've only 14 days of victuals left. We cannot wait. If the master will not make a decision, we shall make a decision for him.
Nay, you must not bear it.
You will not join us. Best keep out of the way.
What is the meaning of this?
Get it?
The story begins 5 years earlier in 1607
Shape up for a course north by west.
with English explorer Henry Hudson and his quest to find a northern sea passage to Asia. It is a story that will inadvertently lead to the conquest of the American Northeast. For over a century, Spain and Portugal have claimed all the wealth of the southern hemisphere for their own. The Spaniards have grown rich off of Aztec and Inca gold and silver from Mexico and Peru, while Portugal controls the southern trade route past Africa to India and the rest of Asia, home of spices, silk, and other valued trade goods.
It was at least a 2-year round-trip journey, enormously hazardous, very costly. But it was worth it because what they got most importantly were spices. And spices, of course, didn't mean simply things to add zest to your food. It was preservative, it was medicine, and they were enormously valuable.
There are huge profits to be made. France, England, and the new Dutch Republic are eager for a share of the market.
And as the countries of Northern Europe began to engage in the spice trade, they realized that the voyage around the southern tip of Africa and across the Indian Ocean exposed them to confrontation directly with the Spanish and the Portuguese along the route.
And what some people thought was, well, couldn't we sail a northern route, go along the north part of the landmass of Eurasia, or else to sail west? People were unclear at that time whether North America was part of Asia or not.
The question will consume explorer Henry Hudson until the day he dies. April 1607. Hudson is chosen by a large English merchant company to lead what will be the first of 4 epic voyages in search of a northern sea route to the Spice Islands of the East Indies. Hudson is a sea captain of some renown, well-educated and obsessed with exploration. He is married to a feisty and self-reliant woman named Catherine and has 3 sons. The middle son, John, probably 14 in 1607, is listed as crew on 3 of Hudson's 4 voyages. A month later, Hudson, his son John, and a crew of 10 set sail from London in an 80-foot wooden ship, the Hopewell. His course is due north, over the North Pole.
Now, if you look at a globe and position yourself in England, There are three logical, to their way of thinking, ways to do it. One was to go northeast, up around Scandinavia, north of Russia. The other was to go straight west across the Atlantic Ocean and to find a channel that went through the North American landmass. The third, which seems the zaniest to us, was to go straight north over the top of the world. And that was, in fact, a prevailing theory at the time.
It is believed that the constant presence of the sun at the poles would keep the Arctic Sea free of ice. Hudson is the first explorer to test the polar route.
The 16th in the morning, above 80 degrees latitude. This morning we saw that we were compassed in with ice in abundance. I hoped to have had a free sea between land and the ice, and meant to have compassed this land by the north. But now, finding by proof it is impossible, I'm forced to return. I can assure at present by this way there is no passage.
If you bring us no news of a passage, then did you bring back any fish? Furs? Did you make any profit at all for the company?
I did not. But I did find a...
Back in London, Hudson meets with his
Master
sponsors.
Master Greenwell, sirs, if I may. It is clear there is no passage by way of the pole. But what of the northeast passage? If I can sail through the northern sea, I am sure I can find a navigable river that will take me to Cathay. If the sea prove inhospitable, I believe there could be a strait through the island of Nova Zembla. Would the company consider financing a new expedition in the spring?
We will take it under consideration, Master Hudson.
It will be a matter for the board of directors.
Thank you.
Spring, 1608.
Master is on deck.
Master Hudson, welcome aboard.
Hudson is commissioned by the sponsors of his last trip to try a different route. This time to the northeast, and hopefully over Russia to the Orient. Hudson's first mate is a master seaman by the name of Robert Jewett, age 50. The man is educated and is skilled in celestial navigation.
His first mate is a very critical role here. Without a good, competent first mate aboard the ship, it's very difficult for the captain to keep up with the load of responsibilities that have to be met.
Have you belayed that brace yet? What are you waiting for? Do it!
But although Jewett has valuable skills, he's also described as cynical and dangerous.
So they try Plan B, which is the northeast. They sail up over Scandinavia and north of Russia, and it is probably just as grueling as the last trip.
May 5 and 20th. The wind at east-northeast. My carpenter was taken sick, and so doth yet continue. And 3 or 4 more of our company was inclined to sickness, I suppose by means of the cold.
Most of these were not cold weather sailors. These were farmers. These were people who were picked out of the bars on the waterfront when the ships needed a crew. When they met with the hardships, these poor men couldn't take it.
3 months later, they reach the strait that Hudson has pinned his hopes on.
Shall I give the order to turn back, sir?
No. We'll not go back empty-handed. We'll change course and sail northwest.
It is late in the season to be heading northwest, sir.
If the winds be favorable, as they have been, we'll make it there and back in good time.
Aye, sir.
Shape up for a course north by west.
Aye, sir. North by west.
Hudson orders his weary crew to set a course toward America. His destination? An area above Arctic Canada as yet largely unexplored. But his men have other ideas.
Headed northwest with winter set to news.
Take command of the ship?
I'll not starve to death on this ship.
The crew of the Hopewell is ready to take matters into their own hands. July 1608. Henry Hudson leads his tired crew toward Arctic Canada in search of a northwest passage. To the north and east, he's been turned back by ice. Now, as he heads west, his crew grows restless.
I'll not starve to death on this ship.
The Hopewell never completes its journey west. On August 26th, the ship docks in London. An entry from Hudson's logbook gives the only clue to their sudden return.
I used all diligence to arrive at London, and therefore I now gave my crew a certificate under my hand of my free and willing return without persuasion or force by any one or more of them.
He must have been persuaded, and who the culprit is, or the ringleader, we don't know, but we get the feeling that Jewett was always a troublemaker.
Mutiny is punishable by death. There is no worse crime on a ship.
It is very important that there be very strict discipline aboard a ship, and once you've lost control, then you're doomed.
Hudson immediately seeks sponsorship for a new venture, but rumors of his detour to the west and of his crew's near mutiny have preceded him.
I am persuaded there must be a passage to the northwest. Would the company consider financing a new expedition in the spring?
I'm sorry, but we can sponsor no new ventures this year.
Henry, will you not eat? Henry?
What is it?
It's been weeks now. Can you not find another ship? Another company? Find other piloting work?
I'll not be piloting a whaling ship, Kate, if that's what you're suggesting.
Did I say that? Nay, Henry, but we cannot go on like this. You must find work.
Father, Mother, we have a visitor. Master Van Meteren.
May I have a moment of your time? I have a proposition for you.
Master Van Meteren, I will leave you gentlemen. Come, John.
Right. Take a seat.
Thank you. Master Hudson, I speak on behalf of certain Dutch merchants who are desirous of aiding you in your ambition to find a northern sea passage to the Orient.
I'm very interested, of course.
We want an experienced pilot to help us find a passage above Russia and the islands of Nova Zembla.
But the way is barred by huge ice floes. I know, I've seen it with my own eyes.
Yes, we know of your travels. But our geographers are convinced that there must exist a passage that way. It is an opportunity, Master Hudson. Maybe too good to pass. Why don't you think on it?
Hudson finally agrees to make the trip to Amsterdam. The Dutch Republic, ruled by Spain, has spent the last 30 years fighting for independence. Now, a truce has been signed, and the new nation is intent on commercial success.
The Dutch, with their efficient methods of production, their efficient methods of management, just exploded onto the economic scene.
The Dutch East India Company, with its fleet of 40 ships and some 5,000 sailors, is on its way to becoming the largest, richest, and most powerful company in the world.
They now want to expand. If there is a northern route, they want to be the ones to find it because whoever else finds it is going to co-opt them.
November 1608. Hudson meets with the company directors.
Meine Herren Directors, it is my firm conviction that the passage you seek lies to the northwest, not the northeast as you suppose. The venture would carry no more risks than an expedition to the northeast, but I suggest that the rewards would be just as great, if not greater. But I would need your answer soon if I'm to set sail in spring.
We hebben Master Hudson gehoord. Wat denken we ervan?
Volgens mij zijn de plannen van Master Hudson niet goed voor de future.
Waarom?
Unable to agree on which direction to explore, the company directors put off making any decision until their next meeting at the end of March. Hudson must wait 5 months to hear if he will get a ship and where he will be sent. But one country's hesitation creates an opportunity for another. France's explorations in the New World have yielded little profit. An alternate route to the East Indies is far more attractive.
What Hudson represented was the opportunity to move into another arena. His destination was the Spice Islands. The French looked at this as an opportunity.
The powers throughout Europe were keyed into him. He was a Bill Gates kind of figure in that people around Europe thought he was someone who knew which way the future lay, and they wanted to join up with him.
The French ambassador to the Dutch Republic, Pierre Genin, is intrigued by Hudson's plan.
He maintains that there must be in the northern parts a passage corresponding to the one found near the South Pole by Magellan. This whole voyage, both out and home, can be finished in 6 months.
But news of France's overtures to Hudson soon reached the Dutch. January 8th, 1609. The company directors summoned Hudson to an emergency meeting.
Master Hudson, we have decided to sponsor your venture on one condition. You are to think only of discovering the route to the north of Nova Zembla.
And the ship will be ready by the spring?
By April, yeah.
I accept the terms.
He's doing it because he's got to be captain of a ship.
Thank you, mein Herren directors. You will not be disappointed.
Hudson's ship is the newly constructed Half Moon. His crew of about 18 consists of English and Dutch sailors. Hudson also hires back his old navigator, Jewett.
If you're going to have a person aboard, better the devil you know than the devil you don't know.
Get yourself down below and worm and parcel the ankle cable. Move it!
Although Jewett is on board as a navigator, he is not hired as first mate. A Dutch East India Company representative will outrank him.
Cast off your bunts and crews.
In spring, the Half Moon set sail from Amsterdam.
Hey-ho.
It is the start of a journey that will earn Hudson the glory he hopes for, but in a way he would never expect. May 1609. Henry Hudson, now in the employ of the Dutch, sails along the northwestern coast of Russia, searching for a passage to Asia. On May 19th, the Half Moon enters an inlet of the Barents Sea, the White Sea. The cold is brutal.
Hey, wat doen jullie hier? En wij zijn verdomme aan het werk.
Drop you three-legged. Out on deck and work. Shuffle. Up, I said. Bring it up. You three, on deck. You two are confined to corners. Sir, they stay below and will not work.
What is the cold, sir?
Well, what do you expect, Carter, when you sign up for an Arctic expedition?
Hudson is aware of his crew's frustration. He also knows that if he continues to push ahead into ice-filled waters, this journey will fail, just like the last two.
I heard Carter say if he had £100, he'd give 90 of it to be home right now. I tell you, Captain, the crew can't take much more of this.
But our charter is very clear.
You would have us continue on through a sea of ice till we be crushed. Before that happens, I'll commandeer the ship myself and take her home.
Jewett, watch your tongue, man. Then we must return to Amsterdam.
Your employers will not like it if we return empty-handed.
What do you propose?
We're now focused on Plan C, really, which was the Northwest Passage. And there were two, there was sort of C1 and C2 in Henry Hudson's mind. One option was to go a northern route through Canada through what it is now called Hudson Strait.
It is an area that has never been fully explored. But Hudson rightly suspects that the crew won't stand for another Arctic voyage.
However, there was another plan, which was apparently put in Hudson's mind by his friend, John Smith. Americans know John Smith as a founder of the Jamestown colony, the Virginia colony.
In the summer of 1608, John Smith sailed north of the English colony past the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. In a letter to Hudson, he suggested that somewhere under 40 degrees latitude there was a sea that might lead into a Western Ocean.
The way ahead does not look promising. Now we can either go home with nothing to show for our pains, or we continue our search elsewhere. I have two propositions. To sail northwest by Greenland and explore Davis's Straits, or go to the coast of America to the latitude of 40 degrees. There is a sea leading into the Western Ocean to the north of the English there. Now this could well be the long sought-after passage to the Orient. Southwest of Virginia it is.
Yes.
Master Stewart, plot a new course.
Aye, sir.
The full mast gone, sir! And the sail! Ice!
With one mast down, Hudson is forced to head for what is now New England for repairs.
Er komt een boot aan! Er komt een boot aan! Boat? A boat, look, with savages!
The natives are members of the Micmac tribe, part of the Wabanaki Confederacy. They are familiar with Europeans. The Micmacs have been interacting with French fur traders in Canada since the early 1500s.
They expect that he has copper kettles on board. They expect that he has steel knives, iron knives, hatchets. They expect that he has cloth on board. And they know that he is interested in furs.
They want to trade. Let them come up alongside.
Hudson and his men are as anxious to make a profit as the Micmacs. There is no reason for hostility.
We dare not trust them.
Three days later, the Half Moon is anchored close to shore to make much-needed repairs.
And then they began to notice that there were lobsters. They were so common that at low tide they could just walk along the beach and pick them up.
Ellie, look at the size of them! Oh, but look at this one you got!
The crew consumes 59 lobsters that night, a welcome change from moldy biscuits. But not all see the place as a paradise.
July 24th. We kept a good watch for fear of being betrayed by the people.
They saw native people as savages. Their intent was to come in and take the resources by force. They had to dehumanize native people in their own minds in order to get to that goal.
We drew the savages from their houses and robbed them, as they would have done to us.
Grab the force! Move it! Back to the tower!
Captain, the savages are attacking.
Mr. Coleman, all hands on deck. Weigh anchor, set sail.
All hands on deck! Weigh anchor! Set sail!
The Half Moon leaves the Maine coast heading south toward the Virginia colony to begin its search for a strait leading into the Pacific Ocean. On August 27th, after battling a succession of gales, the ship enters the Chesapeake Bay. But the sea that seemed so promising is dangerously shallow. Hudson continues north.
Shape up for a course north by west.
The next day, they reach what is now Delaware Bay. They are the first Europeans to enter it.
Mr. Jewett, sounding.
It's too shallow, sir. It's only 2 fathoms.
Bring the ship about. We'll continue northward.
Aye, sir.
Clearly, the entrance to what we now know as the Delaware Bay was not the entrance to a cut through the North American continent. So Hudson continues right on up the coast.
September 3rd, the Half Moon arrives at the entrance of what will later be called the Hudson River.
So they round Sandy Hook and they enter this magnificent Colosseum-like harbor. And as far as Hudson hopes, the passage that will lead to Asia.
A broad river with no end in sight. But where does it lead? Six months after leaving Amsterdam, Henry Hudson and the crew of the Half Moon arrive at the mouth of what will one day be called the Hudson River. He is not the first European to see it, but he will be the first to explore it. Giovanni de Verrazzano, sailing for France, discovered New York Harbor in 1524. Esteban Gomez, sailing for Spain, visited a year later. Yet neither explorer went far upriver, and neither country followed up on their discoveries.
You have to try to imagine this little wooden vessel going up it past this true wilderness. They were incredibly vulnerable. What they hoped was that very soon they were going to pop out into the Sea of Japan.
Today, the people of the country came around, seeming glad we had come. They are well dressed in loose deerskins and brought green tobacco, which they gave us in exchange for knives and beads. They desire clothes and are very civil.
He met two specific Indian tribes, the Munsee Delaware downstream and the Mohican, my own people, upstream. They were very, very similar. They were essentially a hunting, gathering, fishing, agricultural peoples.
The Delaware have encountered Europeans before, hence their eagerness for European clothes and tools, and their caution.
European explorers were out to make money. If they couldn't make a profit any other way, they weren't too proud to take Indian people as slaves and sell them back in Europe.
It was fair weather in the morning, and our master sent John Coleman with others over to the northern side to sound the river.
The Hudson had a lot of promise. For one thing, it's a tidal river, which means that it's salt water for much of its course. They described it as a mile wide and deep.
20 fathoms, and in a good anchorage.
One of our men, John Coleman, was slain by an arrow shot in his throat, and two others were hurt.
God have mercy on his soul.
From here on, we shall keep steady watch. Cover him up.
The crew remains vigilant as they continue their slow journey upriver. It isn't until the Half Moon leaves Delaware Indian Territory that they begin to relax. On September 21st, the Half Moon is anchored near present-day Albany, home to the Mohican people. The ship quickly draws a friendly crowd.
The Mohican probably never had met with the Europeans before, although they undoubtedly knew about them and had heard of them.
I want you to drink this.
Hudson, suspicious, allows only the chiefs on board, then plies them with alcohol, hoping to expose any treachery.
In the end, one of them became drunk. This was strange to them, and they didn't know what to make of it.
Indian people did not have alcohol and were not familiar with it at all. And as far as I know, this is the earliest account on record of Europeans getting the Indians drunk.
Hudson persuades the others to leave their sleeping companion behind.
Leave him with us.
The people of the country did not come until noon.
Fine, look!
But when they came and saw the savage aboard our ship was well, they were glad.
But Hudson has other concerns. The river has been getting narrower. From his anchorage near Albany, he sends out the ship's boat to see if it widens further up.
Report sounding. 1 fathom, sir.
Master Hudson, we can't go any further. The risk is too great for the ship.
We've been grounded twice already. You're right. Let's weigh anchor and head home.
Weigh anchor.
150 miles from the mouth of the river, Hudson is forced to admit defeat. The Half Moon has spent the week making its way south toward the Atlantic Ocean. Near present-day Peekskill, Hudson is back in Delaware Indian Territory.
Savvy! Got them! Leaving! Bloody savages! Don't just stand there! Give fire! What was that shot?
I've watched you, Captain. The savages have stolen my bandolier and my 2 shirts.
The next day is spent in a running fight with natives bent on revenge.
2 canoes full of men came up behind our stern and shot at us with their bows and arrows. In return, we discharged 6 muskets and killed 2 or 3 of them.
There is nowhere to hide. The ship is an easy target. On Hudson's return journey downriver, the Half Moon is ambushed by hostile natives. But the Indians' bows and arrows prove no match for the ship's cannons. On October 3rd, the Half Moon and its crew safely reach the Atlantic Ocean. Now, Hudson is faced with a choice: to winter in the New World and keep searching for a passage to Asia the following spring, or return to Amsterdam and face defeat.
We should be overwintering in Newfoundland.
We haven't enough provisions to last us the winter.
I vote we go home to England now, sir. Leave the Dutchmen here.
England, yes, but Amsterdam, not. Not yet. We must find something first.
The next day, the Half Moon sets a course for England. If Hudson can avoid Amsterdam and spend the winter at home, he will be able to sail to America in the spring.
Clearly going back, his mind is already on the last hope, and that is this Northwest Passage